So today we're gonna have a very special challenge. I haven't used this art supply in probably 15 years. I'm a little intimidated, and it's going to be painting with watercolors that we used in school. I got it very cheap from a store, and I thought it would be really funny for me to try. I will paint something that I'm the most familiar with, and I will just do a cutesy little portrait and paint it. I'm also only going to use the brush that's included. So going into this, I knew that the less details with this brush, the better. And I decided to stay in my comfort zone for this one and drew a cute little portrait. And I also stayed with something that I have been so obsessed with. I just love drawing elves or elf ears, and I couldn't help myself, so I drew a really cute little fairy lady. And I usually add a lot of details to my portraits, so I try to avoid drawing anything too small, too tiny to get with the brush, and keep it fairly simple, which was really difficult, I'm not gonna lie. Also, the sketch was, I can tell you that already, my favorite part of this whole thing. I think it's also the thing that turned out the best in this. I really loved how the sketch looked at the end, and I wish I didn't use it for this challenge. But where's the fun in this otherwise, right? So, using these paints were also not gonna be easy, or at least I thought. I don't know exactly when I was filming that. I haven't used these kind of paints since, like, I think elementary, middle school-ish, around that time. And it was kind of like a passion thing for me, because since I started drawing a little bit more often, and I fell really into loving, I don't know, just putting like pen on paper and like your paint. And the first real art supply, like professional art supply, that I did buy myself with my own money was it is professional paint. It's a watercolor set by Schminke. It was like the smallest set. I think it has like 12 colors, like the base colors, and I used that palette so much. Actually, it was like the only watercolor palette I nearly finished, or like the little watercolor walls. And I don't know, watercolors has always been my favorite medium, and I don't know why I stopped doing watercolors as much. I have just been really into the mindset that I need to practice more, so I just got used to mainly only drawing with graphite, and I think that kind of slowed or hindered me sometimes, because yes, you can make finished pieces with a pencil, but I didn't. I was just like in the mindset, oh, I gotta practice this, I gotta practice that, and I haven't done finished pieces in a while. And of course you can also sketch with watercolors, but I have been using also the past 6 months or so, a really old sketchbook that wasn't finished, and it's mainly for dry mediums, and so there wasn't a lot of painting going on in that sketchbook, and I kind of miss it so much recently because of YouTube. I'm doing more and more finished pieces, which I love that this is kind of helping me to actually get some finished art. And I just love that I'm kind of forced into like challenges or even things where I'm like, okay, it can't turn out perfect. So I don't have the stress of disappointing myself. And this was also one of those. And I think with the last video that I did and this combined, it kind of inflamed my love for watercolors again. And so I'm just really excited to paint more. I think I just missed painting in general. I used to paint so many like paintings and then gifted them all to like family and friends, and I haven't done that. It's honestly been a little sad, the realization that I haven't done that lately. Sure if I said that in the end of this video, but I graciously got a really big whole-buying gouache set by a really big cutie, and I'm really excited to set that up and then go back into my painting area. I think it's time, and I'm really excited. I haven't been this excited with drawing or painting in a really long time. I put too much pressure onto myself, and I always got annoyed as soon as I couldn't fulfill my own expectations. So yes, I'm excited for the next few videos, even if it's just sketchbook, filling my sketchbook videos, or actually doing finished pieces or art challenges. Here we go. Listen to this in a second. It's beautiful how... Oh, listen. Listen to that scratchy noise. I was already, like, at this point, I realized I ultimately underestimated how bad this brush is. Like, I knew it was gonna be bad, but I did not think that it was going to be this bad for some reason. And I think I was like silently fuming starting from here, because I really love this sketch and I still wanted to make this look the best that I can. But this brush, oh man, I don't even know if you can call this a brush. It is truly horrific. Like, the feel of it scratching the watercolor paper was something so unique and terrible at the same time. And I got so many flashbacks to my childhood using these for painting. And I used to hate watercolors in school, and I guess I know why. To be fair, in school we have to have like separate brushes. Like, these kind of brushes we didn't use. I know I used these for like, is it painting by numbers that also adds these? But yeah, they are horrible. Like, honestly, I know for a lot of people, buying or investing money in art supplies is something very secondary, and also, for the most part, very difficult at this economy. But I do recommend, if you can, preference, if you can, save up for a few quality items. You don't need a lot, but maybe get like some half, you know, like half good watercolor brushes or paint brushes in general. Before you use this, to be honest, I use brushes that I think were around like €2 per piece or three. Those are my cheap ones, and those I honestly love those. I usually go for those brushes, so you don't need like €30 brushes for any medium, as long as you know you're doing this for fun or starting out or don't have the money to invest that high. I also used to invest back in the day my like savings and bought like this one watercolor palette, and you don't need more. If you have like okay paper, honestly paper is kind of important. Half good paints, like graduate quality, those are usually cheaper and also fairly good in most cases. And then also some, yeah, I don't think you need very expensive brushes, just like a €3 brush and you're set, to be honest. Like, I don't think you need really super expensive art supplies at all to make amazing art. Practice and art knowledge go a long way, but there is a certain point in doing art where I do recommend getting a little bit, you know, of a better quality thing. It's my recommendation. I know not everyone can or can afford it at the moment. But before you buy a lot of cheap art supplies, I rather recommend getting one good thing. Back to the video. I was kind of hopeful how it's turning out, and I started doing the second layer, and that's when I kind of realized that these paints are fairly impossible to layer. They're very chalky, like they use cheap pigment and then also added a lot of like white pigment, which is one of the cheapest ones you can get, and which gives them like a very chalky consistency. And it felt a little bit like you were layering like sand particles on top of each other. Up until like the first layer, it was okay, but then once you go to put on another layer, it's kind of like you're scrubbing off the sand of the the dried paint has become sand, and you're scrubbing off sand. So that's also why I then decided to not do a lot more to it. I kind of liked how it looked. I wish I didn't do the outlines as much as I did them. That was like a little bit my doing too much syndrome. But yeah, the paints were also fairly horrible. I'm not gonna lie. The brush not usable. It's just for the trash. I'm not gonna lie. Like no. Please don't use these. just please don't. They're fine for children that like to smear paint on paper when they're like 3 or 2, but no, not for doing actual art. I am now really, really curious what would happen if I used these paints again, but used my quality brushes. I think that could be really interesting. I don't know how far I could push these paints because they are horrible to layer, and I love to layer with my watercolors, which, you know, that's what you do, but I don't know how far I could push it, so it would be kind of fun to figure out. And it will also be fun to kind of compare the whole thing to a quality, like using my quality paints and then also using good quality brushes. I think I might do that in the future, but I think I need a small break from these paints. They were horrible. Yeah, I think there is not much to say to them other than they were chalky. They weren't like they didn't let me like layer at all. They were really difficult to blend, and they just felt like dried sand on paper. It was honestly, it's a fun challenge, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm glad I don't I don't use these for making art usually. No shade to anyone who enjoys these kind of paints. I think I just can't. They're not for my workflow. Here I then try to add at least a few details, but since this brush gets thicker at the end than like where it starts, it's just a weird shape for a brush. Like you can't do any like details or fine work whatsoever. I tried my best with like touching the brush the least I can to the paper, but it was hard. I do like how far this challenge has pushed me, and also proved a little bit that you know, you don't need the most expensive art supply to make something that still looks fairly good. And yeah, I only added a really limited background because doing like big areas with this brush is also impossible. I don't know what this brush is good for. Like there's nothing about this brush that has been... This is criminal! I'm just the world's biggest like mistake. I don't know who decided that all the brushes in those sets is... Well, this is it. I probably would continue a little bit more if I didn't use this crime to humanity. This, I don't know who thought of this brush. Whoever thought of this needs to be punished, because this is absolutely a joke. The paints are very, very chalky. Like it's just pure chalk when you touch it. So yeah, this is it for the challenge today. I might do this again with an actual watercolor brush, see if that makes any difference on, you know, how far you can push these paints, because I think this is the biggest scam out of this whole thing. Like, so yeah. That's the challenge. I wanted to try to see, okay, do you need expensive art supplies to make art? If you get any paints, get like cheap brushes that are not this, whatever this is. So I was curious to see if they are as bad as I remembered. And they are. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you for the next video. Bye!